Let's start with the machine learning part. First, I am reading a new data generated by the signal processing pipeline. Here, I am just reading those files using read underscore CSV, and I am grouping them as dataset type 1 part 1 and the part 2 into the list so that I can concatenate it easily. So basically the frames are easy to concatenate. Mm, yeah, and I'm going ahead and printing the first five entries of the dataset type 2 on the dataset type 1. And yeah, I am also printing the statistics of the dataset type 2 on the dataset type 1. So the statistics mean the count, mean, standard deviation, minimum, and all the three quarters and the maximum number. So let's go to exploratory data analysis. So what is exploratory data analysis? EDA is the heart and soul of the machine learning. So EDA refers to the critical process of performing initial investigations on the data. Like you can discover the patterns, get a summary of the statistics, test hypothesis, graphical representation, and it has many advantages. Many advantages like spotting or missing the erroneous data, or finding the outliers, whether the data is balanced or not, identifying the most important variable in our data set. So I went ahead and did some data analysis, and I printed out the bar graph of these two data. So yeah, this is for a data set type 1. So I wrote a function called data exploration pipeline where this basically just creates the bar graph. And yeah, as you can see, as I showed, the data type 1 is basically contains only basic activities. One is the static activities, other one is the dynamic activities, total 6 activities, and it is shown here. So we can observe from the bar graph that the data is um, slightly unbalanced. Okay, not too much unbalanced, but we can see that the height of these bar graph are almost same. So this is how the machine this type of balanced nature of the data is required for machine learning model. When I did the data analysis for dataset type 2, so you can see this bar graph. The first 6 bar graph is repeated from the previous one, and this time if you see the activity ID from 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, so we can see some inconsistency in the data. So this data is heavily imbalanced. These heavily imbalanced data provides the false accuracies, and the accuracy level of the machine learning models goes down. So this is basically due to the activity. Okay, we don't have enough data to work on from activity 7 to activity 12. The next step is the data pre-processing step. This step is very important. Let's discuss about why do we have to handle the outliers, and why do we have to do feature scaling. So why do we have to handle the outliers? So as I discussed earlier, I just printed out some of the statistics of the data. So because of these outliers, the mean, the standard deviation will be affected. The Euclidean norm and the Gaussian distribution norm will be affected from these data outliers. So it is better and important to remove the outliers row from both the data sets. So what is feature scaling, and why do we have to do it? So the feature scaling is a machine learning technique used to normalize the range of features of the data. There are many types of feature scaling, and I have used a min-max normalization, or in the other words it is also called as min-max scaling formula. um, After implementing these two functions, after handling outliers and after doing the feature scaling, we obtain the data set type 3. So this is basically the removal of the outliers and the feature scaling part. So I went ahead and dropped out all the outliers. um, and you can see the improvement in the bar graph. Talk about the train and test data. So the whatever the data we have, so the whatever the data we obtain from the signal processing pipeline, we clean the data by using the data pre-processing. After that we have to train the model. So for this purpose, usually the general rule of thumb is we divide the entire data set into two parts. The one is for the trained data set and the other one is for the test data set. So the trained data set, 72 to 70% to 80% of the data is separated for the trained data, and the rest of the 20% of the data will be the test data. So this 20% of the data will never be used or will never be exposed to the a, a model, so that we can predict to what accuracy the model is predicted. So we go ahead and train the data in the phases of 10%, 50% and the 100%. So after this, once we train our model from the trained data set, we go ahead and give the test data set, and we calculate the accuracy using the metrics, the ratio of number of correctly predicted data by the total. So I wrote a function called train predicate, which takes these inputs. So and I am storing the result in the dictionary called results. So basically what I am doing is I am computing in the phases the first 300 samples. So yeah, and this return the results and the confusion matrix. So and I'm going ahead and printing test and train the test report. And the next step is the supervised learning. So what is supervised learning and why do we and what is the importance of it? The supervised learning is a machine learning uh, task of learning a function that maps an input to an output based on the example input output base. A supervised learning algorithm analyzes the training data and produces an uh, inferred function which can be used for mapping new examples. So we have so many machine learning models under the supervised learning. For example, support vector machines, SVM, linear regression, logistic regression, naive bayes, linear discriminant analysis, decision tree, k nearest neighbor, etc. So for this project, I am using a Gaussian naive bayes a model to set up a benchmark model, and I am using I am using the logistic regression and the decision trees in order to beat this benchmark. So I have used Gaussian naive bayes a model as a benchmark model. This is a family of probabilistic classifier. This classifier is mainly based on applying the Bayes theorem. So I went ahead and trained this model, and I got an accuracy of 71%. So this is a benchmark model, and I select two other models from the supervised learning, that is the decision tree and the logistic regression classifier, and I will try to beat this benchmark. So what is what is decision tree? The decision tree classifier belongs to a family of predictive modeling approaches. A decision tree is used as a predictive model in this approach. Each internal node represents a test on an attribute, and each branch represents the outcome of the test. So here I went ahead and applied the decision tree classifier. So the accuracy came along with the 87.452%. The next is the logistic regression classifier. So again, this is the statistical model, uses a logistic function to model a binary dependent variable. So when I went ahead and applied for logistic regression, I got an accuracy of 96.19 the 159. So yeah, the next comes the tuning parameters. So why do we have to tune the parameters? The tuning is a process of maximizing a model's performance without overfitting or creating too high of a variance. So this is accomplished by selecting a appropriate hyperparameters. So what are hyperparameters? We can think hyperparameters as a knobs or a dials of a machine learning models. Basically, they are not learned by the machine themselves, but they are manually chosen. So the tuning parameters. So basically, I went ahead and trained all three tune model 1, tune model 3, tune model 3 for the both dataset 1, dataset 2, and the dataset 3. So plotted. So you can go through my report provided in the link in order to get a main idea of all these hyperparameters. The next is the final results. So we set a benchmarks by Bayer's a Bayer naive model, and we bet that, and we beat the benchmark model by the logistic regression and the decision tree models. But out of these two elected models, the logistic regression is the best one. And the improvement parts. Okay, so the what can be done to improve this. The accuracy on type 2 dataset is very low. This is because we, as I said earlier, there is a limited data of postural activities, that is activity ID from 7 to 12. So what is the solution for this? Collect more data of postural activity and rerun the models. So the final results, so you can see that the final results of the logistic regression. For test data I am getting 96%. For the train data I am getting 98%. And in the future scope, yeah, we can build a React Native app that integrate with the ML models, and they send the real-time updates of activity to the concerned persons or the hospitals. Uh, uh, I'm going ahead and planning to build a React Native app during my summer time. And yeah, thank you for your precious time and listening to this video patiently.